DisNewsYouKnow podcast. My name is Marlon, and in this time capsule to talk about disability news in the UK, to explore the stories and give a little opinion. Although their news sites out there for disability news, disabled people news affects our lives is still underreported. And generally, as many of us already know, we are underrepresented in the media. So the aim of this podcast is an effort to try and address the balance. So first story is top KC claims assisted dying bill is not compatible with the Human Rights Convention. A top lawyer claims that the assisted dying bill breaches the European Convention on Human Rights (ECHR) because of inadequate safeguards for people with disabilities. Tom Cross, KC's review of legislation comes as the government is expected to publish the impact assessment of the bill, which is due to have its final stages debated in the Commons on the 16th of May. Mr. Cross, who is one of the counsel for the Equality and Human Rights Commission and fellow barrister Ruth Kennedy, have warned that the bill breaches Article 14 of the ECHR, the provision that everyone's rights are protected equally and would unfairly discriminate people with conditions such as autism, bipolar and depression. However, allies of who brought forward the bill have dismissed the claims, pointing out that the legislation has been carefully looked at by government lawyers. A source close to Ms. Ledbetter told The Independent, "They're wrong. I can't share government's legal advice, but it goes without saying that lawyers have examined the bill in minute detail and would have flagged any possible ECHR issues." The legal advice was commissioned by the Christian Institute, one of a number of charities and campaign groups looking at potential going to the courts to prevent the bill coming into law if it's passed into Parliament. If it's passed by Parliament, it follows a testing committee stage in the House of Commons where scores of amendments put in by MPs opposed to the bill to add further safeguards rejected. Ms. Ledbetter has pointed out that she accepted 32 of the 393 amendments from MPs who were opposed to the bill, but the House saw another MP Nasrar, originally intended to support the bill. This is fundamentally flawed. In a detailed legal opinion, Mr. Cross and Mrs. Kennedy said persons with disability of the above sort are in significant different situation from persons who do not have such disabilities because they, all else being equal, are more likely to express the clear and settled wish to die required under the legislation to be eligible to be assisted to die. They are on that basis more vulnerable both than persons whose disabilities are not of that sort and than persons who are not disabled at all. Accordingly, they are on well-established principles required to be treated differently under the Article 14 non-discrimination unless there is justification not to do so. However, without justification, the legislation fails to provide an adequate safeguard to address the great vulnerability. They went on, in our opinion, the failure to treat these cases differently in the enjoyment of the right to life is a breach of the ECHR. We consider that on the basis an application for judicial review in respect of the legislation once enacted could be brought to obtain a declaration of incompatibility under the Human Rights Act 1998, HRA, and the persons or body falling in the concept of a victim for ECHR purposes could bring a complaint about the legislation in the European Court of Human Rights. Susan Calver, Deputy Director of the Christian Institute, said the legal advice should make MPs think again about backing legislation. It'll be interesting to see if the argument is carried forward and how the bills come to the House of Lords, whether it will influence discussions there. I think we'll see the pass, like I've said many occasions, then we'll see the bill pass into law some shape or form in the next couple of years, and it will then be up to the relevant authorities to make sure human rights pledges are upheld and legislation is compatible with those things, opposed to being created into a minefield, as I've said on many occasions and several episodes before. And I think that no one's quite prepared, and I don't think anything will quite prepare us in advance for when this service actually comes into being story. It's from The Independent. It says £1 billion car scheme becomes learning riding welfare. Wow. Multibility is a scheme which sees people with disabilities lease a car using the benefits. It's facing scrutiny of its profits and sector pay amid welfare cuts. The company paid out £100.8 million in salaries in 2024, with the highest paid director receiving a total package worth £747,000. The scheme has grown significantly, with over 800 815,000 users, raising questions about its affordability and potential misuse as the government slashes £5 billion from the welfare budget. Multibility CEO Andrew Miller says most of its cars are economy, not luxury models, and its users are entitled to use the benefits in this way. He says the scheme, which grew its revenue to £6.9 billion in 2024, removes thousands of ineligible users each year, and that for every £1 spent for disability allowances, £1.50 is returned to the UK economy. In terms of the pie, I understand where the scrutiny is probably coming from. But the reality is this is active pay in the modern capitalist world. If you're a CEO of a certain caliber, then you've got to pay top dollar in terms of that's just the way it is. In terms of the scheme itself, critics of the welfare state will always use the debate argument against the scheme, and in recent years the cost of getting and maintaining mobility vehicles has increased for disabled people, plus the options, adaptations, etc. and so forth. Those that need adapted cars, it's thousands. So it's not just someone paying their mobility fee, it's the upfront cost of thousands to get the car. It's the cost of adaptations, and it's not a cheap scheme to be involved in. Yes, it's subsidised to an extent, but we're also talking about a group of people who very often, more often than not, live in poverty, and yes, the scheme is about affordable access to vehicles, but with all the adaptations that some people might need, then it's affordable in inverted commas. And as CEO of the quote there said, several people every year more people are being removed or denied access to mobility vehicles, or denied access to. What basically means is that they've been denied access to a certain rate of mobility in the first place in order to be eligible for the mobility scheme. And we've seen with the cuts, not just the ones that are scheduled to come, but in the past decade and a half, that a lot of people that really needed mobility and had their own vehicles to assist in mobility were stripped of cars, and a lot of, as with disabled people, we know that a lot of those cases were people that desperately needed access to those vehicles. So this argument about mobility is a lot of the time is from people that don't really understand the scheme, or really understand the financial implications of having a mobility car. Third story from Independent is blind people said to lose thousands of benefits still cannot read details of Labour's welfare reform plans. And it stories about the Lib Dem MP Steve Darling, who is registered blind, who's raised the issues of thousands of people with disability who face losing their benefits under Labour's £5 billion welfare reform still cannot read the details of what ministers plan to do almost 2 weeks after Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall unveiled a green paper on welfare reform. Accessible version of the document is still to be made available. The Department of Work and Pensions has promised the audio versions for blind people. Braille and other accessible forms will be ready in early April, but with the consultation underway, there's fury that they are available to the media. Lib Dem MP Steve Darling, who's registered blind, uncovered today. He back saying it was nothing short of a disgrace. James Stanley, Executive Director of Strategy and Disability Equality, Charity Scope, said this is one of the many things which are wrong about these catastrophic proposals. They're some of the biggest cuts to disability benefits on record. Yet, nearly 2 weeks after they were published, disabled people were facing thousands of pounds a year in support being ripped away still aren't able to read the full plans. The government needs to rethink the proposal and start listening to and working with disabled people. The vow prompted as a result of parliamentary questions by Mr Darling, who's a Lib Dem Work and Pensions spokesperson, answered by Welfare Minister Stephen Timms, who said accessible versions will be published in due course. The minister went on to say we published a green paper of all accessible versions to put detailed information about matters subject to consultation in the public domain. At the earliest opportunity, the government has also vowed to produce accessible versions of the subsequent impact assessment. The government's impact assessment suggested that 250,000 people, including 50,000 children with people interested in property, as a result of the changes. Some of these are among the 340,000 people registered blind or partially sighted in the UK who cannot read the details of the documents yet. Lib Dems have claimed that they could put government at risk of breaking their own regulations on accessibility. Part of the requirements for accessibility in public bodies are that you must make a website or mobile app more accessible by making it perceivable, operatable, understandable and robust. You need to include an updated accessible statement on your website, then going to say you may be breaking the law if your public sector website or mobile does not meet accessibility standards. Accessible versions of documents include large print, font 16 or greater, braille, printed tactile documents, audio, MP3, DAISY, audio only, audio description for multimedia, electronic, Microsoft Word or other process files, PDF, DAISY, audio and text, HTML and closed caption for multimedia. Well, this story was not entirely surprising. It's really poor form. So providing accessible materials for a major consultation isn't good enough, and this kind of just shows how contradiction this whole approach to disabled police really is. And really how haphazard this whole process has been, really. And I hope someone actually goes further and kind of takes them to task on this if they don't actually hurry up and put out accessible documents, because this really isn't acceptable to be able to be undertaking such a massive round of major cuts that are going to affect so many people's lives, and yeah, a whole swathe of sectorless people are left unable to even come to the table, so to speak, because they can't have access to the information. So hopefully this changes. Next story is in the Metro. Hilton Hotel has launched a pop-up tea room where customers at the 5-star Waldorf Hotel will be served by staff who have learning disabilities. The special event was hosted as part of Learning Disability Week with special educational needs disabled centre. Staff at the historical hotel yesterday, guests were served a menu of freshly cut sandwiches and warm scones by servers, including Sammins, who has Down syndrome. Sam told Metro, finding work was really difficult for me. So when I started my role at Hilton, it was such a relief. I've always wanted to work and be around people. The article goes on to say he joined the hotel's Support Down Syndrome Association Workfeed program, where his skill set and aspirations were matched. Having worked 1 day a week, Sam, who lives in Chalk Farm, now has a permanent food and beverage assistant role, following outstanding feedback from guests and colleagues. The hotel chain wants to demonstrate support for members of the Zen community and highlight a representation gap within the industry. Oh, this is a really good story, and in the climate where disabled people are being fed a rhetoric that they're not worthy and taking the resources, it's good to see a major employer offering opportunities to our community. And only I hope that schemes like this aren't one-offs, and that all the employers take notes and carry on the work that companies like this start. And also that they carry on schemes like this. Like I said, not one-off, and then it becomes, obviously, the dream set becomes commonplace. And companies offer long-term opportunities. They offer the flexibility that maintain people need to stay in work if they're able to do so in an ever-changing world. The only thing that appears to be constant is that the rest of society isn't able to adapt to the needs of disabled people, to come down their needs, but this is something that just have to be that way, and